Let's be really clear about something. In the entire history of the United States, no private company has ever wielded this much power over national security. SpaceX isn't just a contractor. They launch our spy satellites. They operate the network that guides our drones. They are, for all intents and purposes, the backbone of modern American power. So, what happens when that backbone is at risk of being snapped?
What if the keys to that entire kingdom, to America's dominance in space, were being secretly copied? Well, that's not a hypothetical anymore. It's the terrifying question at the heart of a bombshell investigation that is absolutely rocking Washington, D.C. to its core.
Just today, February 10th, 2026, a scathing letter landed on the desk of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And look, this wasn't some polite request, it was a demand that has officially triggered a formal investigation into SpaceX and its alleged ties to China. This could be the beginning of the biggest, messiest corporate military divorce in American history. So let's unpack what is really going on here.
So you have to ask, who's making these incredible allegations? You might think you know, but this isn't your typical partisan fight. No, this is something way more serious.
Okay, get this. On one side, you've got Senator Elizabeth Warren, who is famously the progressive scourge of big tech. But on the other side, you have Senator Andy Kim, a former Pentagon official, a national security expert with some serious credentials. This is not a left versus right thing. This is a unified, bipartisan alarm bell that the Pentagon literally cannot ignore. And what they're demanding is, well, it's unprecedented. They're not just asking a few questions. The letter, and I'm quoting here, calls for a forensic financial audit of SpaceX's capital structure. You know what that is? It's basically a full-body cavity search on a company worth hundreds of billions of dollars. They clearly believe something is deeply, deeply wrong. And here's what they're actually looking for. They're worried about billions in what they're calling blind venture capital. Money that's flooded into SpaceX through these complicated front companies in places like Singapore and the Cayman Islands. Their ultimate fear? That these are just shell corporations for state-backed Chinese entities. But the real target here isn't just the rockets. It's the AI brain of Starshield, the military's crown jewel satellite network. In this new tech Cold War, giving an adversary a backdoor into that system, well, it's unthinkable.
So, how on earth did a company as buttoned up and secretive as SpaceX suddenly become this vulnerable? The answer, ironically, lies in a massive corporate merger that everyone at the time was calling a stroke of genius. So here's how it went down. In late 2025, Elon Musk merges his AI company xAI into SpaceX. Now, for decades, SpaceX was like a private fortress. Its investors were handpicked and carefully vetted. But xAI, it was built totally differently, on fast money from all over the globe. The moment those two companies became one, that wide-open door was suddenly attached to America's most sensitive defense asset. The allegation is that in the mad rush to grow, the security vetting just got left behind.
Now, normally, there's a system to prevent this. It's a government body called CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States. Think of it as the government's security checkpoint for big international business deals, designed to stop exactly this kind of thing from happening.
But the charge here is that somebody used incredibly sophisticated financial tricks, what insiders are calling shell-within-a-shell structures, to make it almost impossible to trace where the money was really coming from. It's like they found a secret tunnel to get right past that critical national security firewall. And when a firewall like CFIUS fails, the fallout isn't just financial. It gets very, very political.
And all of this entire mess, lands right on the desk of one man, putting him in a truly impossible position. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is caught in a political nightmare. If he launches this full-scale probe, he risks starting a war with Elon Musk, the one guy who holds the keys to the military's only ride to space. But if he ignores the probe, he'll be absolutely crucified for being soft on China, which in today's climate is a political death sentence. He's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't.
And to make things worse, you've got factions inside the Pentagon itself. A group of old guard generals who have always been uncomfortable with how much the military depends on SpaceX are now using this probe as a weapon. For them, it's not just about security, it's an opportunity. A chance to finally break a monopoly they never wanted and steer billions in emergency funding back to old-school contractors like Blue Origin and Rocket Lab.
But okay, let's get down to it. Is there any real evidence here? Or is this all just smoke? Let's follow the money trail that investigators are pointing to.
Well, according to reporting from the Financial Times, the trail leads to several early investors in xAI who also happen to hold major stakes in Chinese tech giants like ByteDance and Huawei. You combine that with Musk's heavy reliance on his Tesla Giga factory in Shanghai, and you get to the central explosive allegation: is sensitive data from Starlink's AI being traded to Beijing in exchange for keeping Tesla's business humming along in China?
Now, for his part, Elon Musk has always had a consistent answer to these kinds of accusations. He argues his companies aren't loyal to any one country, but are pro-human. They serve humanity as a whole. But in the supercharged political climate of 2026, that argument is facing its single biggest test yet.
So what happens if these investigators are right? I mean, if this audit actually finds a smoking gun, the fallout would be, well, it would be catastrophic, not just for SpaceX, but for America's entire future in space.
We're talking about worst-case scenarios here, what some are calling the nuclear options. Okay, first, the government could just suspend all contracts and seize control of military assets, like the Starshield network. Second, they could force SpaceX to sell off xAI, basically tearing the company in two. And in the most extreme scenario being whispered about, some lawmakers are talking about nationalizing Starship, turning America's ride to the moon and Mars into a government-run program.
Of course, there is a powerful counter-argument to all this. Musk's supporters are screaming that this is nothing more than a political witch hunt, that national security is just a convenient excuse to punish a billionaire that many politicians can't stand. They point to companies like Boeing with their own complex global supply chains and ask why they don't face this same level of scrutiny. It's a fair question.
But when you strip everything else away, this probe really isn't just about money or politics. It's about something much, much bigger. It's a fight for who will own and control the next great frontier of human history. This is about the future of space itself.
Which leaves us all with one final massive question. Is this a necessary, vital security check on a company that has simply become too powerful to fail? Or is this just high-stakes political theater designed to finally bring a billionaire who is too influential for Washington's comfort back down to Earth? The answer to that question is going to define our future, not just down here, but in the stars above.